Hi class, this is Professor Barry Brennan here. Thank you so much for hanging in there. This will be my last video for types of reasoning. We are going to be finishing our discussion about inductive reasoning, inductive arguments to be specific, and this is for my argumentation class. And so let's go straight to that PowerPoint. So what we did is we talked about inductive arguments by analogy, and we talked about it in terms of example, and now we're going to look at it in terms of causal correlation. All right, so what does that mean? What is causal? Remember, correlation has to do with correlation means relationship, okay? Argument, this kind of argument examines specific cases, classes of cases, or both. And the point is to look at or identify a relationship or a correlation between them. To look at these specific cases, these classes of cases, or both, and look at the relationship, come up with, is there a relationship between them? Okay, so we always think of the word cause, like cause and effect, but we're really looking at, is there a relationship there? In scientific research, the type of argument that it's called causal generalization. All right, so the methods to assess argument by causal correlation, how do we do that? Well, obviously we want consistency, right? There has to be, we were looking for patterns, right? If you're looking at a correlation and you're wanting to look at these different cases, right? You want to see patterns. You want to see, when they say strength of correlation, empirical means what's the data say, right? Does the data support what you are arguing? Does the data show that? Not the correlation that you're just making and showing how there's a relationship there, but does the data support what you're arguing? A movement from cause to effect does movement from cause to effect follow a pattern that is logical or predictable? So let's just think about when we talked about dairy cows and it's the effect of factory farming on the environment. Is that the way that industry is working the environment, can you see a relationship? Can you see a pattern of cause and effect? Right? Can you see that? Is there something, is it logical or predictable? And predictable means, can you predict, can you forecast it's going to keep happening? Right? That's part of an argumentation, is you're forecasting, here's a problem, if we keep doing it, the problem's going to continue. And is the movement from cause to effect coherent? What does that mean by that? What's the word coherent mean? Coherent means, does it make sense? Can you see the relationship? Can you see the pattern? Like cause to effect, usually there's a sequence, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You like steps. There's things that happen. This happens, and that happens, and that happens, and that happens. Right? Can you see that? Let's just take the idea about the factory farming and methane gas. Well, if you read the literature around methane gas, it is the reason why methane gas is so bad, worse than carbon dioxide, is because it gets trapped in the atmosphere and creates in the like only a small amount of methane gas in comparison to, we're going to do a correlation, comparison to a lot of CO2 can create the same effect. That's the big thing. In fact, I just learned this from reading a book by Bill McKibben, and I can't remember. I think it's called Falter. I'm reading it on my Kindle. But that's what, I didn't know this, and that was really interesting. So CO2 causes global warming, but it takes a whole bunch of it, okay? And we have ways to get rid of CO2, like trees. There are plants here. There's a balance that's happening. The problem with methane that's being produced through one of the ways is through factory farming. And it's not the cow's farts, by the way. It has to do with their digestion. And I just read an article. It has to do with burping or something. But that only the same amount, or not the same amount, a small amount of methane in comparison to a large amount of CO2 will have the same effect. So methane is bad. Like, it only takes a little bit of methane to have a very bad effect. And that is the whole thing to look at, that cause-effect movement, because they see when methane really warms the planet. So the atmosphere, when they say global warming, we have this atmosphere that's trapping this air in, these gases in, and it can't get out. There can't be movement. And this little bit of this particular kind of gas creates this heat more than the CO2. Okay, so that's what they were able to deduce through science. But you can see the relationship and the correlation between CO2 and methane. Okay, so this is the work that I'm looking at for you to do as you do your reading, as you do your research, your ability to look at these things. Now, not just take things at face value, but ask the hard questions. Is the author drawing a relationship between these things? Is there truly a relationship between these things? Okay, that's it for the day. You have a great day, and thanks for listening. I will see you later.